What is up, everybody? Happy New Year. Welcome to 2024, the year the Browns take over the world, the year UCSS takes over the entire internet, and it's the year that big things are going to happen to all of us. So I know we didn't have a real show today. We are back in full force tomorrow, but I want to hop on for, 10, 15 minutes, answer a few questions. We know a little update on the situation for the Browns in the playoffs now. We're going to talk a little college football playoff, and like I said, I'm going to answer as many questions as I can at the end, but just wanted to hop on for 10, 15 minutes, say what's up. There's no days off, guys. You know that. I don't take any days off. So happy New Year. 2024 is going to be a great year for everybody, all you guys included. Appreciate Ryan, Zach, Harbring, Chris, Jeff, KW, everyone who's in here already. We appreciate y'all. You guys are the best, and it's going to be a great year. So let's talk Browns for a second, guys. With the Ravens win, the Browns are locked into the 5 seed. No matter what happens, the Browns will be the 5 seed. They don't know who they'll play. There are still 4 teams who could possibly be the wild card round opponent, but they will play the division winner with the worst record. Division winner with the worst record. So if it was today, then they would play Jacksonville. But Jacksonville can lose next week. Indianapolis and Houston play each other, and then the winner of that would end up playing the Browns. Also, if Jacksonville wins and Kansas City loses, then there is some sort of weird tiebreaker scenario where the Browns could technically play the Chiefs in the first round. But barring any crazy weird collapse, it looks like the Browns will play the AFC South champion. Now let's look at those 3 teams, because the Browns have already played all 3 of those teams this year. They beat Jacksonville with Joe Flacco. They beat Houston with Joe Flacco, but it was a very different Houston team without C.J. Stroud. And they beat Gardner Minshew and the Colts with P.J. Walker at quarterback. That was the game Deshaun started but played 5 plays, and then P.J. came in, and that game was close. So if I had to rank those teams in the order that I would want to play, I want to play Jacksonville. Out of the 3 AFC South teams, Jacksonville looks the most vulnerable to me. Trevor Lawrence is banged up. He didn't play last week, and they beat the living piss out of the Carolina Panthers. It got so bad the Panthers owner appeared to have been caught on video throwing a drink on a fan. So they're terrible. And the score was disgusting. They absolutely incomprehensible. I mean, it was 26-0. Did they score? But either way, I want to play Jacksonville. If you have to give me my chance, I think you match up well against Jacksonville. I think their secondary is ranks 27th in the league in pass yards allowed per game. They're near the bottom 5 in an EPA per drop back against. So you like the analytics, like the traditional stats. Either way, their secondary is trash. Joe Flacco, torched them a couple weeks ago when they played here. That game should never have been as close as the final score indicated, but I would absolutely take Jacksonville as my number 1 opponent. I don't want to play the Houston Texans. Now, you played them 2 weeks ago. It was a blowout. It was 36-7 before Kevin Stefanski called off the Dogs. But with C.J. Stroud back, all bets are off. The Browns would be favored, and I still think the Browns could win. But of the 3 potential quarterbacks who would play in that opening round matchup, C.J. Stroud is by far the best. And he's had a couple games this season where he's put the entire team on his back and carried the Texans to a win. He did it against Baker Mayfield when they played Tampa Bay, and he threw for 500-something yards, 5 touchdowns. If he catches fire like that, the Texans could beat anyone. So the Texans are the team I want to play the least. You also played Houston 2 weeks ago. Now, granted, the Browns are equally, if not more, banged up, but those are the 2 teams that have the most players on IR in football. And when you played the Texans, they lost Jonathan Greener, their best pass rusher, in the first quarter. They lost one of their cornerbacks in the first quarter. So all the stars kind of aligned to turn that into a one-sided affair, but the Browns match up very well against Jacksonville, and it's easy for us, guys. We just need Jacksonville to beat Tennessee next week. That's it. Beat the lowly-ass Titans. If you can't do that, you probably shouldn't be in the playoffs anyway, Jacksonville. So you should win, and that would set up a rematch, Jacksonville versus Cleveland in the opening round. Indy's kind of the wild card, because Gardner Minshew played tremendous against the Browns in that opening matchup. Tremendous. And he's been up and down. They got smoked this past week, or 2 weeks ago, by Atlanta. Who'd they play yesterday? They beat Vegas yesterday, and it ended up being a 3-point game, but it was really a 10-point game until the last kind of garbage time touchdown. But they kind of scare me because I don't know what to expect from them on a week-to-week basis. They look really good at times, and you're like, "Ooh, that team could beat anybody." I mean, they beat Baltimore. And then they just lay an egg against Atlanta, and you're like, "Are they any good?" So they're in the middle. They're in the middle to me. I would want to preferably play Jacksonville. I definitely do not want to see Houston. And by the way, they could beat Houston with Stroud, without Stroud. They proved they could smoke them. I'm just saying that'd be the team I'd want to see least. I would still pick the Browns in that matchup, but that's the one I'd want to see least because when he's on, he is having an absolutely unbelievable rookie season. How Bryce Young ended up being the first round pick over CJ Stroud, especially considering Carolina traded all those assets. They traded what is going to be the number one pick in next year's draft for a guy you can't miss on that. And it looks like, it's too early to write Bryce Young off, but it looks like a pretty egregious mistake already with how well CJ Stroud's played. So CJ Stroud, the last guy I want to play out of these three. Indy, I just don't know. And I'm just not buying Jacksonville. I picked them to have the number one record in the AFC before the season. I thought all the stars would align for this Jacksonville team. And it just hadn't come together. Defense hasn't been as good. Calvin Ridley has been solid, but he hasn't turned into the elite wide receiver one that I thought he would and develop that chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence has been okay this year, but he's been all right. Like that's it. I took him in the first round of our fantasy draft, and he was average, but he hasn't been spectacular. So that's how it's looking like. It's most likely going to be an AFC South opponent. I would prefer to play Jacksonville. I don't want to see Houston, but it is all up in the air. It depends on the games this weekend. If Jacksonville wins, they're in, and that's the matchup. Simple as that. So if you're a Cleveland fan and you agree with me that Jacksonville is the opponent from the AFC South you want to play, you put on your Trevor Lawrence jersey, put on your Travis Etienne jersey, and let's root for a win against the Tennessee Titans on Sunday. Kevin Stefanski, it was reported yesterday, will not play his starters against Cincinnati. So it's essentially a punt game. We'll see if anyone kind of steps up from the second unit to maybe find a way into the rotation for the guys, but we will see. I'm going to answer all the questions at the end. I see a bunch coming in here. I'm going to go back and we're going to circle back to that at the very end. But it doesn't look like they will play their starters. So if you're looking for a game to watch that actually means something, then like I said, flip on Jacksonville and let's see if the Jaguars can take care of business. Will Levis got hurt last week, I believe. And, if Malik Willis starts at quarterback, he might be the worst quarterback I've watched play football this year. Seriously, hopefully he's a nice guy, but he's not a good quarterback. And if he's playing, it will be it could get pretty ugly. So we're talking real quick. Let's answer some questions, and then I'll go and I'll do some college football picks. I'm scrolling down here, so I'm going in alphabetical order. Not alphabetical, but in the chat. Pancake says, did Florida State deserve to be in the playoffs? It's tough. I think the committee got it right. I got with the 14 playoff and 5 conferences, someone's getting left out every year. This year, you could have made a legitimate case that they had as good a resume as anybody, but the job is to put the 4 best teams in the playoff, and I don't think they're one of the 4 best teams. So I feel bad for Florida State fans, but if it was up to me, I don't think they're one of the 4 best teams in college football. And against Georgia, and granted, you can't look anything into a bowl game, but they got their absolute ass handed to them by the Bulldogs. Ryan said, you think all the wild card teams can win Browns playoff home game? It's possible. It would not surprise me in the least bit if the Browns beat the AFC South champ, Buffalo. If they don't end up winning the division, they could beat anybody. And if they win the division and Miami's a 6 seed, yeah, Miami could upset Kansas City for sure. Yeah, absolutely. We'll see who wins. I'm not sure if Indy can go on the road and beat Buffalo or Miami, but we'll see. It wouldn't shock me, but I think at least one of the division winners would win. Cruz says, do you think the Browns will sign a wide receiver? I would definitely call somebody. I would like to see at least Jarvis Landry come in for a workout, someone who knows the system. At this point, you trust Amari Cooper, you trust David Njoku. Do you really, truly, honestly, at the bottom of your heart, trust anyone else in that receiving core? Especially if Elijah Moore's out with a concussion. He's not going to play against Cincinnati. We hope he'll be back for the playoffs, but there's no guarantee. He had to spend the night in the hospital after suffering the concussion on Thursday night. He has been released. He's still in protocol. We haven't had an update yet, but yeah, I would call a receiver. There's not a ton of great options out there, but I also know the guys you currently have, I think are just okay. Just okay. And maybe, and this would be a good opportunity. I know PJ Walker will most likely get the start. Actually, DTR's on IR, so it'll be PJ Walker. They just signed Jeff Driscoll, too, so maybe it'll be Jeff Driscoll, but we'll see if David Bell can step up, or if Cedric Tillman, or if Austin Watkins Jr. is going to have a chance, I would assume, to play in this game. So maybe the practice squad preseason hero can be the guy that we think they could bring in. But bringing anyone in this late, if they're not familiar with the system, it would be very, 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 very hard to get acclimated to a new quarterback, a new terminology, a new playbook. So I think it'd have to be somebody who's familiar with Stefanski, has played for the Browns in this last couple years, and or just has great chemistry with Joe Flacco from a previous stop. And that just made me think of something. Corey Davis retired. I have no idea what kind of shape he's in, but Corey Davis caught the 75-yard touchdown from Joe Flacco against the Browns last season in that week 2 catastrophe. And he retired before the year, but him and Flacco played in New York for 2 years together, I believe. He was still pretty productive last year. I'm curious if maybe he's a guy you give a call to, but it has to be someone who's familiar with Flacco and or the system. I don't think it's plausible to come in this late, especially as a receiver where you need to know all the routes and blocking and all that. I just don't think it's totally possible. So we'll see. Next up, Anthony Garcia. Realistically, how far do you think the Browns can go? I believe we can make it to the AFC Championship, perhaps even the Super Bowl if we stay healthy. Hell yeah. 1,000,000% the Browns can win the Super Bowl this season. Abso-freaking-lutely. If Joe Flacco is playing like Joe Flacco has played the last 3 weeks, then abso-freaking-lutely the Browns can win a playoff game. They can win 2 playoff games. They can win 3 hell, they can win 4 playoff games. This NFL season makes no sense. Zero, zilch, nada, nothing. Nothing this year has made any sense. The only thing that makes sense is the Browns have the best defense in football, and the best defense in football has helped them overcome all these offensive injuries and turnover and turbulence to be in a position where they're 11-5 and can choose to rest or not rest their starters in Week 18. Hell yeah, they can win the Super Bowl. Listen, you look around the AFC. Baltimore is the best team in the AFC right now, but the last team to beat Baltimore was this Cleveland Browns franchise. You look in the NFC. You got San Francisco. Well, PJ Walker beat San Francisco. I don't look at any team and say, I don't like our chances. I don't like the Browns' chances. I feel pretty damn good that regardless of who the opponent is in the playoffs, the Browns, with their defense, with what they do, and with how Joe Flacco is playing at the moment, and if that changes, obviously everything changes. Joe Flacco has to continue to play like he found Michael's secret stuff in Space Jam for them to win a Super Bowl. But if Joe Flacco continues to play at that rate, Anthony, abso-freaking-lutely, they can win the Super Bowl this season. All right, next question. I'm scrolling down here. Tommy says the only team we can't compete with is Baltimore. Is that what he's trying to say? I disagree. I answered the receiver question. Mike J says I look like Clark Kent. I'll take that. Thank you very much. What else? I want the Colts. Go Brownies. Wouldn't we have to go through the Ravens? At some point, you have to go through the Ravens. Yeah, at some point. If they win, obviously, the road to the Super Bowl goes through Baltimore. They've locked up the 1 seed. But for a Browns-Ravens matchup, it would have to be let me do about the math. So the playoff, the NFL reseeds each round. So if the 2 seed and the 3 seed, whoever that ends up being, win in the first round of the Browns upset whoever they play in the 5-4, then yeah, the lowest seed would play Baltimore. So it could be a second round. It doesn't have to be the AFC Championship to play Baltimore. It could be the second round if the Browns are the only wild card team to upset a division winner. All right, keep scrolling down. Tommy said put in Flacco to beat Manziel's record. I texted Jason that his tweet was doing crazy. He doesn't ever look at Twitter. He just hits send and never looks at it. And when he saw that would be he went crazy when he saw Johnny retweet that. What else we got here? I know I saw another one in here when it was coming by. Yeah, it could be division round. What are the odds we face the Ravens in the divisional round? I just kind of went over that. It depends on who makes it, who, what, when, and where. I think if Buffalo beats Miami next week, Buffalo wins the division, they get the 2 seed. If Buffalo loses, there's a scenario where they could totally miss the playoffs. But if they're a 6 or a 7, they could absolutely upset whoever they play. They could beat the Chiefs. I think I'd pick Buffalo to beat the Chiefs right now. They could beat Miami if that's the case. So if they're a lower seed than the Browns. So if they don't win the division, then I think they'll probably be the most likely wild card team to play Baltimore in the first round. Okay, what else? Cruz, I mentioned that. I would call somebody, but we'll see. Evan419 said, and I saw this on Twitter. It's a great question, Evan. He said, Mikey, good sir, does Bradley Chubb injury change your previous opinion about keeping the rhythm and playing guys? Evan, no, it doesn't, and here's why. And I went back and forth with someone on Twitter about this yesterday. That's just coaching malpractice by Mike McDaniel. There is nothing, zero to gain. Nothing at all. Nothing. I won't hear anything. Nothing to gain from playing your players in the fourth quarter down 30 at that point. Nothing. That's coaching malpractice. I love Mike McDaniel. I think he's a genius. I think that was one of the biggest mistakes any coach has made this season, still having your starters in down 30 with 3 minutes to play. I hear, I understand, I get the merits to resting guys next week. I do. But even people who fall on that side of the argument, just like I understand those merits, should be able to at least understand what the positive, what the potential gain of playing the starters is. There was no potential gain from having Bradley Chubb in there with 3 minutes left to go down 30 yesterday. Nothing. There is, theoretically speaking, a positive outcome and some reason to play Joe Flacco in the starter. So it doesn't change my opinion. It doesn't. And I was trying to think of doing a top 5 tomorrow of the top 5 things that when you're hot, you don't want to mess it up. And for the record, real quick, in most cases, I'm on team rest. Like, seriously, if Joe Flacco had been the quarterback all year, and I was fully sold and convinced that Joe Flacco is this Joe Flacco, I'd be all for the rest. I just think right now they've caught magic in a bottle, and that's why I'm scared to throw off the rhythm. But we'll talk about that all week. I was going at it with Bull yesterday. We were texting back and forth, and he is fully on team rest. And I was, I'll just say it now, but it's like, no, you know what? You guys crushed me for my examples yesterday. I'll use it on the show tomorrow. But if you're hot, you're hot. And if Bull went out to the bar back in his college days and picked up a girl like five weekends in a row, you think he's not going out the 6th weekend? Come on, Bull. You're better than that. Love you, Bull. All right. Next one comes from Jared. He says, will you still watch the Bengals game? Hell yeah. We're going to do a post-game show. Got to watch it. Absolutely. So, yeah, we'll be watching. Hopefully, you guys will be joining us afterwards. Hopefully, we're celebrating a Browns win. It's kind of an irrelevant game. If they lose, it makes no difference. If they win, it makes no difference. We'll find out if Jeff Driscoll or PJ Walker or whoever's playing quarterback has anything. We'll see if Austin Watkins Jr. can step up. Alex Wright and some of these other young defensive players who have kind of been in the shadows of the superstars this year are going to get a chance to shine. So there's definitely some things to watch and take away from this game. But yeah, I'll be watching. Absolutely. Next, should we go after Jarvis? I would give Jarvis a call. Like I said, it has to be someone that either played for Stefanski and knows the system or has some sort of predetermined chemistry with Joe Flacco. I thought of Corey Davis earlier. I'm going to do a little digging on that to see if there's anything into it. I know he just retired. I think he was going to get cut and decided to retire as opposed to getting cut. But we'll see. Kenny says, hey, everyone is typing so fast. There's no way you're reading. Do a favor, hit the thumbs up button. I appreciate that, Kenny. That's why I'm going back and reading these now. Do you think Driscoll will start? I'd rather see him play than PJ Walker, I'll be honest. So how quickly can he pick up the playbook? I'm going to guess it's PJ Walker just because he's kind of earned the right to start this game, if we're being totally honest, which is disgusting. But yeah, I think it'll be PJ. Jared says, would you rather have Joe Flacco or Lamar Jackson on the curve? Oh, what a question. What a question. You take Lamar. Lamar's the MVP of the freaking league. Like, Joe Flacco has been unbelievable. He's been amazing. He's been everything you could have asked for and then more. But Lamar Jackson's about to win the MVP of the league. He just threw 5 touchdowns and 300 yards and ran for 70 more. If the offensive line comes back to earth, you also have the mobility factor with Lamar. Hey, Joe Flacco's more mobile than I thought he was, but he ain't Lamar. So, yeah, I think you're taking Lamar. It's a great question, though. Steven Becker. Oh, what's up, boss? He said, why are you working on – I don't know what time off is, Steve. You know that. Shout out to EP Steve for tuning in here. Tion says, McNuggets, you need some Kool-Aid. We can beat anybody. That's what I'm saying. Hell yeah, I think they can win the Super Bowl. I am not saying that they can't. I'm saying they can. Jarrett said, well, Elijah. No, I don't want to block. Oh, hold on, guys. I clicked something I was supposed to click. Jarrett says, will Moore ever play football game after that Thursday night game? I have no idea. I have no idea. I hope so. I hope he gets back, but that was a scary sight for sure. That was a scary sight, and our thoughts and prayers are with Elijah Moore as he recovers. We got anyone else? Kenny says, are you guys ready for the parade? If there's a Super Bowl parade in Cleveland, and EP Steve, I know you're watching because you sent a question. If there's a Super Bowl parade in Cleveland, I don't know how we get the Goodyear blimp, Steve, but we need to broadcast from the Goodyear blimp. I know how to fold it. Miss Nuggets is over here to the left. She laughed at that because when I met her, I told her I folded a blimp because I didn't want to tell her I was on a show. But yeah, we have to. That parade's gonna be freaking crazy. It'll start in Parma. It'll start at Anthony's house and come all the way down. They could end at the UCSS studios. How about that? What else? This is from. How's any team gonna beat the Ravens in the playoffs? You got to corral Lamar and make him beat one-on-one coverage with the best corners in football. I mean, you watched that Miami game yesterday, and Miami's defense has been pretty good, but Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson Jr. and Greg Newsome ain't getting cooked and leaving guys wide open like that. Lamar played awesome, and he is probably the toughest guy to game. You know, he's 20-1 in his career against NFC teams. That's just an absurd stat. I saw it the other day. He's 12-1 against AFC teams. But how do you stop them? A, you got to control the line of scrimmage and be physical as hell because they are as physical as any team in football. Make them a one-dimensional team, much easier said than done. And hope your guys can cover one-on-one because the less guys you have to put in coverage, the more guys you can have kind of corralling Lamar and keeping him in the pocket. And yeah, it's going to be tough. Like they're a damn good football team. David said, how's G. Bush doing? I believe G. Bush is coming back tomorrow. He was texting us last night. He seemed to be in good spirits, but I believe he will be back in tomorrow. Earl's doing much better as well. His family matter went over pretty well, so he's back. I know Earl's back tomorrow, but they're doing good. We appreciate the well wishes. So there's a ton. You guys have a ton of questions. I'm gonna answer a couple more here. The thing is, I can't hit end, so like I just keep scrolling down, and there's so many more. So if I don't get to all these, I apologize. I just want to hop on here. I was only gonna go 15 minutes, started 25. But what starters do we lose in the offseason? I don't have the cap sheet in front of me, Cruz. I'm sorry. It's gonna be tough to keep Zadarius Smith. He's one that I would assume isn't coming back. He was on a 1-year deal, and you have Alex Wright, who's playing really, really well lately. Yeah, that Zadarius is the guy I wouldn't expect. I'd have to see who else is up. I'll be totally honest. How much do you respect that Miami has done? They've been good and bad. Like the 70-point game. Offensively, they're good. Defensively, I think they've been up and down. They're inconsistent, but they're another team that when it's clicking and they can do what they want to do, they're dangerous. If you can get them to do what you want them to do, which is what Baltimore did last night, they got physical, took them out of their timing and rhythm throws, then you can beat them. So Mike McDaniel's a really smart coach. Offensively, they run the ball as well as anybody, but yeah. Christopher says, does Flacco still get the bonus pay if the Browns win and doesn't play? No idea. No. You know what? I don't think I've said this on the show. Jimmy Haslam spends a lot of money, but the fact that he only has given Joe Flacco $2 million for winning the Super Bowl, which I know is a giant incentive, but hell, give him 10. Like, give him anything he wants. If he's going to bring a Super Bowl to Cleveland, give him whatever the hell he wants. Let me see if I get one more in here. Someone said I start Flacco for a quarter. This is going to be a back and forth conversation all week, by the way, all week. Whether to play him or not. Stefanski said they're not playing. So, no, this game has no meaning for the Bengals. They are out. They are out. Officially out. No meaning. Picks for tonight. Evan, good point. I forgot to mention that. I like Bama. I like Bama a lot in this matchup. This comes down. And I hate how the bowl system's set up where we have to wait a month. And this goes back to the momentum thing. I understand college football is not the NFL, but if these two teams played the week after the SEC and Big Ten championship, I pick Bama by 20. You give them a month off and you don't know what's going to happen. I still like Bama. Michigan's a damn good football team this year. I'm sorry, Steve. Michigan is a damn good football team, but I am SEC bias. I don't hide it. I think Nick Saban in these situations are as good as any coach ever. Do you know if Bama loses tonight? I heard this on the radio this morning. Or on a podcast, sorry. If Bama loses tonight, that'll be 3 straight years they have not won a national championship. 3, just 3. It would be the longest championship drought of Bama's tenure under Nick Saban. How freaking insane is that? So I got Bama tonight. I hate Texas. I made that very clear. I think Texas should win. But there's something about this Washington team that makes no sense to me, and I'm riding with Washington. I think Washington ends up beating Texas. The matchup favors Texas. I would not be surprised in the least. I mean, Texas is favored, I believe. So, Texas, they're 4.5-point favorite. So, yeah, like they're the projected winner. But something about Washington, man, they're the team that just you can't kill. They're like a bug you can't squish. So I'm taking Bama and Washington in the championship, and Bama is gonna win it all. Let's see. Someone said I'm foolish for thinking Lamar Jackson's better than Flacco because he's going to win the MVP this year. I'm not going to acknowledge that. Let's see if I got time for 2 more if I could find any. You guys, I appreciate you guys showing up for this. We got over 500 people in here. Y'all the best. This was got a super chat here from Dom who said, since Joe makes $75K per win, you think he asked to play the first half to give the Browns a better chance to win? I don't think money's not the issue for Joe. I think if they win, he should get paid regardless. I'll be honest. I'll be totally honest. I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry. I don't know. Can we see a rematch between Flacco and Lamar? Yeah, absolutely. It could happen in the playoffs this year. Divisional round or championship round. Both very, very, very possible. Got time for one more. Also, when does the game kick off? In about an hour? Yeah. It's also stupid. By the way, that we wait a month for college football playoff games, and then they put it on at 9 o'clock on a day everyone has to work the next day. What the hell's up with that? It's always been a complaint of mine. Why wait till literally the last night of people's freedom to play the game? You played yesterday. I think that the playoff games were on New Year's Eve last year when Ohio State played Michigan. So, yeah. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We are back full force tomorrow, 2-hour show, 11 to 1. Also on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for the rest of the year. Today's technically a holiday day for Tegna. And if the Browns had played yesterday, we would have had a full show today. But because they played on Thursday, we had our post-game show on Thursday night. We had our show on Friday. So we decided to take a little bit of time off. But we appreciate you guys for tuning in. We appreciate all your support. Once again, Happy New Year, guys. We love y'all. I love you guys. I can't speak for everyone else, but I can tell you I love all you guys. And meant to go 15 minutes, Steve. I went 30. Sorry, that was way too long. But I appreciate you guys for hanging around, hanging out. And we will know this time next week who the Browns are playing in the playoffs. Remember, Jacksonville's who we want. Jacksonville who's who I want. And because I said it, it's not going to happen. But Jacksonville, for the record, is who I want. I will see you guys tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. For now,